For those of you new to my YouTube channel, hello, my name is Robin, and I am the Lore Archivist. I'm also trans non-binary, which basically means that I don't identify as either male or female. My gender exists outside of that more traditional binary. I've undergone a transition so that my outer self better matches my inner self. While I am trans non-binary, and that is a very important part of who I am, it's far from being the only thing that I am. All that you, lovely viewer, need to know is that I use they/them pronouns. Mostly, I like to think of myself as a lover of stories, which is why I chose to give myself the title of Lore Archivist, because I love lore, fictional histories and stories in general. As a lot of you may know from my last video, I love, and I mean love as in an unhealthy obsession, I love the Elder Scrolls series. What I would like to do today is combine these two very separate parts of myself and look at the cases of transgender as well as gender variant representation within the Elder Scrolls series. After all, it's very interesting to learn what life is like for queer folk within Tamriel. While doing research for this video, I found a lot of interesting little stories that I never knew about before, mostly from the Elder Scrolls Online, and let me tell you, I'm very happy with the amount of amazing trans and gender variant representation included in my absolute favourite MMO. That's not to say that there isn't trans representation outside of the Elder Scrolls Online, because there absolutely is. It's just that most of it is, well, either subtle to the point of near invisibility or outright problematic. I'd like to focus on the more positive stuff in this video, try and keep it upbeat and happy, so we will only be lightly covering the more iffy bits of trans lore within the series. Which brings me to the fun bit about covering a subject as controversial as simply existing as a trans person: housekeeping rules and community guidelines. I will simply not accept any transphobia or homophobia within my channel, and while it's not the subject of this video, I want to go on record and include racism, sexism, and any other bigotry to the list of things that I will not accept as part of my community. Luckily, the reception to my last video was amazing, and while some folk disagreed with me, they did so kindly and with respect, and I just want to go out and say thank you all for that. It made me so proud to see such a friendly comment section. I mean, Jesus Christ, a friendly comment section. Oh my god, I found a 4-leaf clover, so let's cultivate more of that. Thank you for being so cool. Next, I want to address ever so briefly the subject of Michael Kirkbride. Mostly because I know that if I don't, then I will have somebody mention it in the comment section below. There are a lot of allegations against Michael Kirkbride, including but not limited to transphobia and a strange obsession and fetishization of trans and intersex bodies. However, the evidence for these claims is hard to find. While I have found some links, most are dead or simply not accessible within the UK, so I cannot confirm or deny any of these allegations. Because of this, while I am aware of him, and believe you me, I am aware of him, I will not be talking about him in this video. Honestly, I think this is for the best. I love the Elder Scrolls, and I don't want what I intend to be a celebration of the amazing trans inclusion within the series to be marred and tainted by talking about the sort of things that Kirkbride has been accused of. So, without any further ado, let us ado further. The gods of the Elder Scrolls, more often referred to as Daedric princes within the lore, are all in a way sexless beings. Now this is because they can choose the forms they take. Clavicus Vile, for example, appears as a young man because he chooses to. If his taste were to change and shift, then he could just as simply decide to appear as an old blind man or, say, a squirrel. I think to understand this fully, we first of all need to understand the gods themselves. Now I don't want to get into the depths of the Elder Scrolls metaphysics here, so please, keep in mind that this is only a brief skimming of the universe of the Elder Scrolls. If I miss things, then it's not a mistake, they have been ignored for the sake of simplicity and brevity. At the very top layer of existence we have the Godhead. Now this is the only real being in all of reality. The universe that we know within the Elder Scrolls games are all part of the Godhead's dream. The Godhead dreamt of two primal beings, Anu and Padme. These beings are the concepts of order and chaos, peace and war, stillness and motion, yin and yang. The friction or natural relationship between Anu and Padme gave way to the creation of the Aedra. The Aedra are what we think of when we think of gods in the Elder Scrolls games. These beings have the power of creation, which means that each Aedra have their own realm, which they shape and form with their mere thoughts. Clavicus Vile has his fields of regret, Morlag Bal has his cold harbour, Mehru's Dagon has his Deadlands, Hermaia's Mora has its Apocrypha, and so on and so forth. Mortals within the Elder Scrolls have broken down the Aedra into two basic camps, the Daedra and the Aedra. The Aedra, sometimes called the Divines, are the Aedra responsible for the creation of the Mundus, the realm which the planet of Nirn and the continent of Tamriel exist within. These 8, or 9 depending on who you ask, Aedra sacrifice the majority of their power to create the Mundus, while the Daedra, often referred to as Daedric princes, are the Aedra that are not responsible for the creation of the Mundus. Each realm of Oblivion is populated with life by the Aedra responsible for that realm. The Daedric princes' realms are filled with the immortal lesser Daedra, while the Mundus is populated by mortals. While rare and stupidly dangerous, it is possible for a mortal to steal the power of an Aedra for themselves. This is the case with the Tribunal of Morrowind, otherwise known as the False Gods. These 3, once mortals, siphon divine power from the heart of Lorkhan. Lorkhan is the 9th divine that I hinted at earlier, sometimes called the dead or missing god. For reasons that I don't have the time to get into now, Lorkhan was killed by the other 8 divines. As you might expect, it's not easy to kill a god, so Lorkhan's heart remained within Tamriel. It still contained the power to shape a reality that is shared by all Aedra. This power was stolen by the Tribunal, allowing Vivec, Amalexia, and Sophaciel to ascend to the status of demigods. The power of creation that all Aedra harness allows them to choose their own physical form. For most of them, this form remains mostly static, with their gender and physical appearance remaining the same over thousands of years. But this isn't the case for all of them. Boethia, for example, has appeared as both male and female. This suggests that while most Aedra have a pretty fixed gender identity, not all do. Sheogorath appears male during the Second Era, when we see him during the Elder Scrolls Online, and then still appears as male during the end of the Third Era, when we see him during the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion. Meanwhile, Boethia, judging from their statues, tends to change their gender rather frequently. This suggests that they have a much more fluid relationship with their gender, giving us our first case of gender variance within the Elder Scrolls. While we don't see any examples of this in the games ourselves, with Vivec always appearing and using male pronouns, the sermons of Vivec refer to him as a magic hermaphrodite on 3 separate occasions. The term hermaphrodite is at best outdated and at worst offensive. I personally hate the term, it simply makes my stomach crawl. This term refers to creatures with both male and female primary sexual reproductive organs, such as snails, clownfish, and so on. Humans cannot be hermaphroditic. Historically, the term has been used to demean, insult, and medicalize trans people and trans bodies. I hate seeing it in the Elder Scrolls. What we can learn from this, however, is that Vivec, despite not showing any signs of this within the games themselves, may be gender fluid, using his divine powers to shape his outer body to match his inner self over time. We do see a lot of trans and gender variant mortals as well as gods, so let's move on to looking at how the less divine beings of the Elder Scrolls explore their gender. Let's begin our examination of mortals with the Elder Scrolls Online, as it's here that we find multiple examples of trans or gender variant characters to look at. On the idyllic shores of the Somerset Isles, we can find the town of Relenthill, home to the House of Reveries. This group of performers travel across the Somerset Isles, performing for the many mer lucky enough to experience their wondrous performances. It's here that we meet the magnificent actress and performer Alchemy. Alchemy is a talented mage as much as she is a performer, and she's used magic to transition her outer body to better match her inner self. We first come across Alchemy during the quest Manor of Masks.
Drat. Which one could he possibly be? You there. You're new to Relenthill, aren't you? You certainly look like an outsider. I regret the necessity, but I must beg your aid. My brother is about to make a terrible mistake and join an appalling organization, an acting troupe. I fear he's already signed up, and that's why I require you as an ally. I'll need you to infiltrate the acting troupe. Laredale, my brother, knows my face, but he does not know yours. You must find him for me so I can talk him out of this.
Alchemy has run away from her home in order to start her new life with her new gender, but sadly in doing so she's left her twin sister worried at her sudden disappearance. Now we're able to help the two sisters reconnect over the course of this amazingly well written quest.
Wait, we must speak.
If you wish to speak on Laredale's behalf, speak. I have no time for games.
I must apologize, Renaid. I wasn't honest with you. Laredale never envied your ability with magic. He feared you wouldn't join the Sapiarchs if he insisted on remaining here.
How can I believe a word you say? If Laredale truly believed that, he would speak to me himself.
I am speaking with you, Rinny.
Laredale? But how?
I've been a member for over a year now, and I should never have lied to you. I feared... Well, what I feared doesn't matter anymore. I'm going to tell you the truth, all of it.
You had best do so at once, little brother. Little sister? If this is truly what you wanted, why not just tell me? All I want is for you to be happy.
Then perhaps we can both be happy now, even if we must be apart.
But first, let us sit by the sea. I feel like there's much for us to talk about.
I must talk with my sister, but feel free to visit me in the Manor of Masks. I'd love to have a chat any time.
If we return later in order to check in on alchemy, then we get what I think is one of the best conversations that details one of the most well-written depictions of being trans within a fantasy world that I can remember.
Well, if it isn't my little sneak, here to bother your old mentor? Not that I mind your company, of course. I doubt I'll ever be anything but a performer. I love it too much. But I may one day leave the House of Reveries. Most do. I'll have to think of a new name then, won't I? Perhaps Lillandway. Yes, I rather like the sound of that. I've always felt like I was meant to be someone else. Becoming alchemy wasn't without its difficulties, of course, but I'm happier now than I've ever been. I didn't feel comfortable with my past identity. Being a mage, being a man, it all felt wrong. But everyone in the troupe understood that. They encouraged me to become who I truly wish to be. I'm not even the first member to change my gender. And we've all transitioned in different ways. Some, such as myself, change through magical means. Others use mundane methods, such as wrapping their chests or changing their voice. It's all a matter of preference.
I love alchemy and the quest Manor of Masks so much. It does everything I think a quest like this should do. If I really wanted to nitpick, then I do think the conversation that you have with alchemy after the conclusion of the quest should have happened during the quest instead. Put simply, this conversation is the highlight of the quest, but because it happens after you finish the quest, gotten your reward, and it's inside of a building, I think that most players will just miss it. And why hide away the best part of the entire quest? It also feels just a little bit like it's been moved out of the way so that those that are averse to seeing any sort of minority can quietly ignore the overtly queer part of the quest, while at the same time the queer community can celebrate the game for its inclusion and representation, allowing ZeniMax Online Studios to play both sides of the political court. Still, this is an amazing quest, focused around such a well-written trans character who feels just so very believable and relatable. I legit think that this quest, well, technically the conversation after the quest, has some of the best dialogue within the Elder Scrolls Online. If we move away from the Somerset Isles over to Valenwood, then we get to meet a trans Nord woman called Snaelid. She's a dancer and performer for the Dancing Scrib performing troupe. Now we find Snaelid and the rest of the Dancing Scribs being held hostage by the Steel Shriek bandits within Fuller's Break. Nords are very wary of magic and are far less likely to use it than some of the other races and species of Tamriel, such as the many races of Mer.
Those cursed mages. It's their fault Winterhold is gone.
Now we don't get to spend a lot of time with Snaelid, so we're not really able to learn that much about her, other than that she uses female pronouns. I've got to be honest, I have very mixed feelings about Snaelid. On the one hand, I like that we're able to see different types of transition within the world of Tamriel. With alchemy, it's a very magical transition with her using her magic to alter the body that she feels a disconnection with. Meanwhile with Snailid, we're able to see a more social transition with less of an emphasis on a physical change. This does mirror a lot of real life transitions, with each person's journey and transition being unique to them. Some trans people will work to change their physical bodies, like alchemy, while others will only socially transition, like Snailid. And I love that this has a mirror within the world of the Elder Scrolls. Oh, but then there's this horrible association with a lot of anti-trans material, both past and present, that just love to depict all trans women as nothing more than a man in a dress, very similar to the visual appearance of Snailid. Now because of that, I find myself feeling very uncomfortable when interacting with her. I do wonder if she was written to be a genuine trans person, or if she was only written as a joke, meant to mock transness, trans identities, and trans women in particular. The evidence, I think, sadly points towards Snailid being an attempt at cheap mockery rather than a genuine attempt at representation. The quest to rescue the members of the Dancing Squib is given to us by Eleonora, who refers to her performers as her boys. Now Snailid is the only woman captured and as such is misgendered here by Eleonora.
Those regatta brigands think they can take anything they want? Oh, well, we'll show them how wrong they are. We made landfall for our show and they attacked. Can you believe it? And now most of my boys are missing.
We also have this very uncomfortable moment when Snailid lures a bandit into a trap by seducing him, which feels very similar to comedies playing up the man being attracted to a trans woman as a joke routine.
Snehild's charms claim another fool. I don't know how she does it.
No man can resist my charms. It's good to know I've still got it.
We've seen this joke in everything from Family Guy to Ace Ventura. Now, the joke, if you can even call it that, is that a man who believes himself to be straight is attracted to a trans woman, therefore in the eyes of the transphobe, he's actually gay, which I guess is funny for some reason. Ultimately, I think that Snailid is a wasted opportunity. We could have seen what transition looks like for those that choose, for whatever reason, to avoid magic in their transitional journey. Instead, all we got is what feels like a cheap joke that isn't even funny. Oh, I've saved the best for last though, just so that we get to end this section on a high note. So let's move away from Valenwood and move over to the swamps of Blackmarsh in order to meet the Argonian Chalmat. While we're exploring the ruins of an old village found in the murky swamps of Blackmarsh's Murkmire region, it's possible for us to stumble across an old romantic poem next to an engraved totem. Similar to the village they're found in, both of these items have been abandoned, but we can learn more if we read the poem. You muck within the waters as I watch from high above. Lilmoth breathes beneath me, but my eyes track only you. The southwest sky beckons as does your slowly waving tail. You part the water with your hands. My hands carve a totem for you. All is changing, but my only constant is the wish to lay your eggs. After we learn that the poem was written by an Argonian called Chalmat, we're able to find them within the town of Lilmoth. Despite the poem being written from the perspective of somebody with a female body, we find that Chalmat is very much a man. He goes on to explain that Argonians are able to transition between sexes and genders thanks to sap from the magical hist trees.
Yes. I carved this many seasons ago. I hoped it would convince my beloved Kudnakal to join me for our tribe's next bonding ritual, but I lost the totem before it could be presented. Of course, this was when I was still a female. Have you never undergone such a transformation, egg sibling? The hist, in all its endless gifts, allows us to change many aspects of ourselves. Gender is but one. I highly recommend it, should you ever get the chance. If we had spoken a week ago, it would have been so. But as fate would have it, Kudnakal has recently undergone a change herself. Thank you for bringing me this letter and totem. They should make fine gifts for my beloved.
We're able to learn that when Chalmat wrote the poem, he was a female, wishing to woo Kudnakal, who was at the time a man. Luckily for everyone involved, Kudnakal has also transitioned, meaning that despite having transitioned from female to male, Chalmat is still able to use the poem to woo Kudnakal. Oh, this is a real T for T or trans for trans love story. And while short, I really do love the details that we're able to learn here. Mostly that, for Argonians who live in harmony with the hist trees of Blackmarsh, gender is far from a fixed concept. I love that we're able to experience this firsthand, a real cultural example of gender as fluid. The beast folk, namely the reptilian Argonians and the feline Khajiit, have always been my favourite races, with lore and world building like this being the reason why. I really do hope that we're able to see more of the Argonians' flexible nature and relationship with sex and gender in the future, either in future Elder Scrolls Online expansions or future mainline Elder Scrolls games. While these are the 3 characters I wanted to focus on today, there are more that I found, so let us spend just a little bit of time looking at the smaller bits of trans representation I found within the Elder Scrolls. There are a lot of characters which have slight nods to a queer identity, or a quirk to the game's writing or coding that hint at a queer identity that was maybe not intended by the developers, but is, nevertheless, there and now a part of that character. City Swimmer from the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion is a perfect example of this. They're an Argonian found within Bravil, a town south of the Imperial City along the Niben River. When you first meet City Swimmer, they introduce themselves using male pronouns, but when you talk to other citizens within Bravil, they refer to City Swimmer using female pronouns.
Does anyone see City Swimmer? Is he gliding beneath the silver water? Is he creeping round a corner, hugging a wall, silent as a shadow in the dark? No, I am here. I stand proud before you, City Swimmer, trainer of the prospective sneaker, the sly sliding unseen.
Keep your eyes on City Swimmer. I don't know where she goes when she's not in the canals.
So then, we have a question. Is this a case of trans, non-binary or gender fluidity within a character? I don't think so. My best guess is that when it came to voicing every character within the Elder Scrolls IV, which is a massive game, the pronouns in this one random character got mixed up and it was never caught. Nonetheless, this has allowed for some fun headcanons around City Swimmer. Then we have Golfer Redbeard, a Nord found in the Elder Scrolls Online. When you first meet them, they say they're looking for herbs so that they can grow themselves a beard.
I'm searching for ingredients for a potion. It will make me grow a full flowing beard, just like my father's.
This has led some people to read Golfer as a trans man, but I think I'd disagree. They don't make any effort to transition in any other way other than wanting a beard. They don't bind or deepen their voice or anything else that typically masculine trans folk will do. So while I do enjoy the gender bending of this character, I really don't read them as trans or non-binary. Also within the Elder Scrolls Online, seriously I love this game, we have Tanlorin. They use gender neutral pronouns and just radiate non-binary energy. Seriously, we can recognise our own. And while I do love them, they are my companion of choice because come on, why would they not be? Their story and lore deals far more with a series of spies within the Eldiri Dominion and not with their gender. Because of this, there just isn't much to talk about here. That being said, as a non-binary person myself, I love that I have a character as fun as Tanlorin to represent my gender within Tamriel. Lastly, we have some other Daedric princes, such as Mephala, who have in certain texts been described as androgynous, but this is less prevalent within the lore than Boethia, so I simply decided to focus on them over Mephala or any other Daedric prince. The world of the Elder Scrolls is a vast, sprawling universe with realms upon realms, all filled with man, merb, beastfolk, Daedric princes, and plenty of strange and alien artifacts or pieces of magic and mind-bending lore. Yet, it's shockingly rare that we get to see or interact with any queer people. In fact, it's almost exclusively the Elder Scrolls Online that has, and continues to, introduce trans, non-binary, and gender variant folk to the world of the Elder Scrolls. The Elder Scrolls III Morrowind does have Vivec, but the less said about the misuse and misunderstanding of the term hermaphrodite, the better. But even then, besides some frankly just weird and bizarre lore dumps within Vivec's sermons, we never get any real queerness from him. He presents as male within the Second Era during Elder Scrolls Online, and then when we meet him during the Third Era in the Elder Scrolls III Morrowind, he is presenting exactly the same way with no changes whatsoever. All of the art, including the many statues of him that can be found around Morrowind, all depict him as using his male body only. Besides the books Vivec's Sermons number 8, 18 and 35, there is nothing that even remotely suggests that he is in any way intersex, trans or gender variant at all. Honestly, that's okay though, because within the Elder Scrolls Online we have some of the best trans and non-binary characters within all of gaming. Talking to Alchemy lets us understand what being trans is like within Tamriel, or at least within the Somerset Isles. Tanlorin, while not obvious with their non-binary gender, is an amazing character that I think I may just be a little bit in love with. And then, of course, we have the cutest T4T story I can imagine with Chalmat and Cudna Cow in Blackmarsh. Ultimately, while I think it's important that we continue to see trans and non-binary representation within the Elder Scrolls 6, I think that the series is currently nailing it with the Elder Scrolls Online. We just need to continue with that. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I do need to remember to ask you all to like and subscribe and leave a comment if you'd like to, because, you know, that's just how YouTube works. Mostly, I just want to say thank you for watching though. My last 2 videos have done so much better than I was expecting them to, and I'm just so excited to see how well this one does as well. Really what I want to say is, thank you for allowing me to be a little lore gremlin, exploring my love of lore, fictional history and stories with all of you other wonderful lore lovers. Okay, so this is the off-script ramble. My voice is a little achy because I've been recording dialogue for a bit. Also, I just watched Superman and I was cheering at that, and oh my god, is the new Superman great? Like, I've just watched it. I didn't watch it in the cinema, I've just watched it, and it is great. Completely off topic. My last 2 videos have done really well, and I'm so glad. I've gotten a bit carried away with it. I've been neglecting my uni work in favour of doing these videos, and that needs to stop. That's not good. Uni's still important. The real reason I sort of say that is because I'm not sure when the next one's going to be. I'm aiming for 2 a month. I'm thinking that's a good balance between uni and these videos, and I hope they continue to do well. My worry is that if I don't do one once a week at least, then my YouTube channel is just going to get no attention and I'm going to lose all the momentum. But I can't do one a week. I can't. Well, I can, but I'd have to stop doing uni, and I don't want to stop doing that. So, like, I've got to find that balance, which if you know what ADHD is like, fucking hell, it's not easy. I'm not sure I'm going to get another one out before next year, which sounds, you know, before the next year is like 2 weeks. But, I've got ideas. I've got ideas for videos. So I'm thinking of starting a series that's like lore, but like lore around fictional creatures, like looking at like the XX121 Xenomorph, for example, and doing like a creature profile on that. And then creatures from like the Resident Evil series, like for example, looking at a creature profile on like the Cerberus or the Gamma Hunters and all that. Or like Monster Hunter. Jesus Christ, Monster. I could do a video on every monster from Monster Hunter. That's a fucking thing. So like that's an idea I've got. I also want to continue looking at stuff within the Elder Scrolls. I love the lore around Manny Marco, the King of Worms. I'm thinking of doing a video on him, but I mean, I'm going to have to beat all of Daggerfall. I'm going to have to beat all of the Elder Scrolls Online base game content, and I'm going to have to beat all of the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion and its the Mages Guild quest. And there might be more because I know there are books that deal with him. Because I've got all the lore books, like the physical lore books they brought out. I've got all of them because of course I have. And I know there's a bunch of books in there that I'd have to narrate. I'm not sure if there's any more game content outside of Daggerfall, Oblivion Mage Quest, and ESO's base game. I say that like that's not a lot. I think that's all of the stuff in the games where he appears, but I might be wrong, and I need to do some research into that. So that's like another thing I've got planned. I also want to do like Resident Evil 9 is out in February, and I fucking love Resident Evil. So I'd love to dig in and look at like the history of Umbrella and stuff, or the history of Raccoon City even, because we're going back to Raccoon City. Like, fucking hyped. But then like we've just got the announcement for Ace Combat 8, and the political history between all of the nations in the Ace Combat series is like really in depth and really cool, and I love it. And we don't get them games enough, so like I want to do that as well. I've got so many ideas for videos, and it's I've got to find the time to do them all and still manage life stuff, mostly uni stuff, but like life stuff. So yeah, please subscribe. I've got so much planned, and I'm so excited for the future of this history, for the future of this. This is the problem with not scripted bits. I've got so many plans for the future of this channel, so please subscribe if you're interested in any of that. So yeah, thank you very much, and go look after yourselves. I don't know what time it is. I tend to watch videos in the evening, so, you know, go to bed. you probably should be going to bed. It's probably quite late. If you're anything like me, it's late. So yeah, thank you for watching, and go have a lovely time. Or sleep if it's late. If you're anything like me, it's like 2 a.m. and you're not in bed. Go to bed. I've got so much energy. Honestly, I'm hyped from just finishing that Superman film. Anyway, thanks for watching and listening to the ramble at the end. And goodbye or good night.